Good evening and welcome to our candidate forum. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Lori Higgins and I am the moderator for this evening's forum, as well as the president of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce. Our goal in tonight's candidate forum is to provide residents with an opportunity to learn more about the candidates and their positions on various issues. I'd like to note, as a resident of Blaine, I cannot vote for any of these candidates. We will ask 4 prepared questions. Responses will be in rotating order. There will be a short period of time at the conclusion for audience questions. Please use this time to write your question and submit to city personnel. I am pleased to introduce the candidates for City Council at Large, Garth Anderson and Kirsten Buscher. Thank you both for being here. Each candidate will now have 2 minutes for an introduction, and then we will get started with the questions. Mr. Anderson, you have 2 minutes for your introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Garth Anderson and I'm running for City Council, the at-large, and I have a background in finance as well as education. And so I'd like to really take that background and use it to help the city manage their finances and make sure that we hold the taxpayers and all that down. I also have a background in small business. I also was a member of the Metro North Chamber when I worked as a center director at Mathnasium. And I've also served on a nonprofit board at the Eastside Learning Center in St. Paul and served on that for 6 years, in which at that time I was on the committee to find funding for the nonprofit. So I've got a good background in finances and numbers, and I want to bring that to the City Council of Ramsey because I love Ramsey, and it's a beautiful place, beautiful city to live in, and it's a great place that I have my family here, and it's just a great place to live, work, and play.
Thank you. Ms. Buscher, you have 2 minutes for an introduction.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kirsten Buscher, and I'm running for the City Council at Large role here in the city of Ramsey. First, I want to thank you for hosting this and to our community for coming out here and having a vested interest in your future and the future of our city. I'm first and foremost a wife to Kyle, a mother to Joseph, my 5-year-old son, and I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to raise my family here in the city. It's a wonderful city, and I want to play a role in why it continues to be great. In my career, I've fostered economic growth, I've advocated for community needs, and I've been a public servant a majority of it. My background also includes law and advocacy in child welfare, working on behalf of families and children to ensure that they have support and resources to thrive. I've also had the honor of working with leaders across various sectors and building many relationships that will be beneficial to our citizens. My primary focus is to keep this city great and safe. I've been committed to listening to the concerns of all citizens as I've been running, and I want to do the same when I'm in office. And I believe in transparent and thoughtful decision making. I've spent years building relationships and advocating for community, and I look forward to continuing this as your city council member. I'm also on boards such as the Minnesota Children's Alliance, the American Indian Family Center, and the Midway Men's Club, where I've had the opportunity to seek grants and finding creative solutions for funding, which I'm excited to bring to our city to make sure that we're preventing additional taxes to our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to our prepared questions. There's a 2-minute time limit for each answer. Our first question is as follows. Why are you running for City Council, and what skills and talents would you bring to the office? And we'll start with Mr. Anderson.
So I addressed that a little bit in the introduction, but why I'm running for City Council is because I want to make sure that we keep this city fiscally sound and make sure that I'm a fiscal conservative, and I want to make sure that we keep that money and keep the taxes down. A lot of what I've talked to a lot of people out there, they're tired of their property taxes going up. Now, obviously, as a city, we can only affect one part of that. There's the school board as well as the county taxes. But if we can keep the city taxes low or not raise them at all, then we're doing a good job. And that's why I'm here, to use my number sense to be able to do that. I also really want to work with making sure that we keep city streets safe and make sure that we, keep the law enforcement well-funded to make sure that we can keep Ramsey a great place and a safe place. And another reason why I'm running, I just love Ramsey, and it's a great opportunity to get your voice heard. I think the important thing is, in government, you need to start at the bottom and make sure that you have a voice. And with the way the world is right now, I think getting your voice heard, even at the city level, is important, and making sure I'm listening to the citizens. And I've been out door knocking and talking to people. I've been sitting in garages talking to the citizens and finding out what those needs are. And that's what I want to make sure, that I am open and listening to the needs of the citizens.
Thank you. I'll repeat each question. Ms. Busher, why are you running for City Council, and what skills and talents would you bring to the office?
I'm running for City Council because I'm deeply committed to maintaining and enhancing our unique community here in Ramsey. I want to ensure that our police department and our fire department and other public infrastructure is well supported. I am personally endorsed by the Minnesota Peace and Police Officers Association. I've done a ride-along with our police department, and I am in constant contact with Chief Caters here at the police department. And in addition to that, I helped secure our fire department 4 AEDs in a grant. So when I say something, I mean it. That is something that I've done and I'm going to continue to do. And in addition to my extensive experience within government and understanding governmental systems from city level all the way up to federal, I have also been the executive director of the Minnesota American Indian Chamber of Commerce. And so I do also additionally have that understanding of finances and what it means to run a business and how best to ensure that our fiscal decisions are ones that make sense for our community members. And I'm making sure that they make sense for our community members by reaching out to them and hearing their needs through, like my friend here, door knocking, calling, texting, whatever I can, whatever way avenue I can get to hear people. And in addition to that, I just believe in fostering collaboration. So I'm someone that as I mentioned, built a lot of really good relationships on many levels of government. And the best way to ensure that we're getting the needs of our citizens is by reaching out to those folks on different levels of government. And I've built those relationships, so I know that when I go to their door to ask them for that help, they're going to give it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to question 2, and we'll begin with Ms. Busher. What do you believe is the greatest need of the residents of Ramsey, and how would you go about advocating for this need?
I think, as I've mentioned, that our public safety and our infrastructure is super important. We're on this swing of growth. And so to ensure that we're on the side of, our infrastructure not collapsing around the capacity, we need to make sure that our fire department and our police department are well-funded, supported. They have enough people to keep us feeling safe. They have the equipment and the support. Along with our city, we need to make sure that we are welcoming, inviting, creating a warm atmosphere for people to want to be employed here. And so in addition to communicating with our police and fire departments, I've also taken the time to sit down with many of our city employees to ensure that, what's going on here makes sense. They're the subject matter experts of our city, and we are here as city council folks to make sure that, things work well. And then, in addition to that, I want to share that I've also worked for the Anoka County Attorney's Office. And so not only will I ensure that our public safety departments are functioning well, but we are working and collaborating with our county level workers, so the county commissioners, the county attorney's office, and the county sheriff's office to take care of things once they get to that level. And I also want to protect just like the feeling of the ruralness in our city. I love that we have so many community spaces. We have a lot of parks, and it's a great place for our families to grow up, but we also need to have more youth activities. We need to have more gathering spaces, and we need to make sure that folks have a way to get there and a reason to stay here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, what do you believe is the greatest need of the residents of Ramsey, and how would you go about advocating for this need?
A couple of things that I've heard when I've been out talking to people is that they are tired of their property taxes going up, and that's one thing I want to make sure we try to do is hold the line on those property taxes. And that is being fiscally sound with the money, making sure we're not overspending, making sure we're not getting funding things that don't need to be funded, and making sure that we're taking care of, the things that a city should take care of, the infrastructure and the police and fire. Make sure that we take care of those, but we don't need to have all this extra stuff if it's not within the budget. Let's keep the taxes down and stop, spending that extra money, and don't raise them anymore. I just don't think there's a need to do that. I also think another thing that a lot of people are interested in is making sure, and one way you can do that is broaden that tax base by getting more businesses into here. And if people want to see that growth, they want to see less of the apartments going up and more of some businesses that people can then go spend their money locally. We'd like to see more of these mom and pop small businesses in here. As I said, I was a member of the Metro North Chamber, and during that time I met a lot of small business owners and talked to many, many of them. And it's a struggle out there as a small business owner, but it's great to have those locally so people can shop local and give their dollars to those small businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to question 3, and we'll begin with Mr. Anderson. Transportation is a concern for many Ramsey residents. If elected, what would be your priorities when it comes to transportation infrastructure improvements for this area?
Well, I know that the roads there is already a plan in place to take care of fixing all the roads in Ramsey. And I will continue when I am elected on the city council, I will continue to see that through to make sure that we continue with that process. But with that in mind, we want to make sure that we continue that process with a common sense in mind, and make sure that we're taking care of that and making sure that we're staying within budget, because I think the roads are a top priority. I've heard a lot of people that complain about the number of roads out there that have potholes and various things like that. And I think it's great what they're doing with Highway 10 and getting that corridor going, and I think that's going to help as well with that. But even a lot of the local roads are in disrepair, and it's nice that we have a plan in place to repair those, and I will continue to make sure that happens when I'm on the council.
Thank you. Ms. Busher, transportation is a concern for many Ramsey residents. If elected, what would be your priorities when it comes to transportation infrastructure improvements for this area?
When elected, I will ensure that we're still supporting the completion of Highway 10. Like so many folks that had sat in the seat before me, I want to ask all of you to continue to support those businesses on Highway 10. It's vital that we're showing support to them during this hard time, and it also shows that when new businesses are looking to come here, we're attracting them by showing that our citizens are heavily invested in these businesses and they want to see them succeed as well. And I have support from local businesses like Druck Auto, Willie McCoy's, and many others, because I've ensured that along the time that I've been door knocking people, I'm door knocking those businesses too. Because although maybe you're not going to be able to vote for me because you don't live here, I'm representing you and I represent everyone. And so I want to take care of that. And I also want to make sure that we're enhancing our road networks, making sure that those potholes and things are taken care of. And we're starting to really get these roads into good repair, and I don't want us to get behind again. And so making fiscal decisions that are smart for other things to ensure that we have room left in the budget for our roads and our infrastructure. We want to make sure that the routes are safe for pedestrians and cyclists, and making sure that we also have improved public transit options for our elders. As many others have mentioned as well before, metro mobility is something that we should see come here. I would love to focus more on the varying ages of our community and making sure that it's a safe place for people to not only raise a family and start one, but be here through all cycles of life, and that their families get to stay here with them throughout that time. So I'd also love to see that bridge to Dayton, like the mythical bridge that everyone keeps mentioning, so I would support that.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to question 4, and we'll begin with Ms. Busher. What is your vision for the city's development over the next 5 years?
Something that I've kind of mentioned multiple times is that I just want to ensure that our city, our public works department, and our public safety departments are being supported, well-funded, and given the opportunities to have enough employees to keep us going through this growth period. I want us to also, once again, preserve our rural spaces, keep this city feeling almost like less city-like. It's a haven. We're outside of the cities. We all get to feel warm and safe in our homes when we wake up, and know that there's parks nearby that are well taken care of. And I think that we also need to make sure that those that are sitting in these seats care for every human in our city. Like I said, I'm here to represent every person. I don't care who you are and if you voted for me. I'm going to represent you when I sit in that seat. And I am going to ensure that you have a seat at the table to talk about your future and what you want to see in your city. I want people to want to come here to raise their family and to welcome opportunities for business. And I also would love to see our youth connected to more hands-on potential for work, like trades. So we can have our youth starting to see ways in which that they could build and grow in our city too. And then, making sure that in order to try and bring in some of those restaurants and businesses, we're being smart about the rooftop growth in our city as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, what is your vision for the city's development over the next 5 years?
Well, I mentioned this before, and I want to see more businesses in here. I want to make sure that we broaden that tax base by getting more businesses in here. Small businesses would be great to have in here. It's great that we've got a lot of open space here in the core. It'd be nice to have more small businesses, shopping areas where you can go, restaurants where you can bring your family, get a nice local meal. I know one thing my son and I, we will take day trips to different cities and towns throughout Minnesota. And one thing we always make a point of, whenever we eat lunch at a local restaurant. We don't eat at a fast food restaurant. We don't eat, we can eat there at any time. We eat at a local restaurant. And I want to see more of those small local restaurants here in Ramsey, where we can, on a Saturday morning, take your family there for breakfast and do those types of things. I want to make sure we get that in there as well. And I want to see kind of a stop to the increase of the apartments built in here. I mean, we've got quite a few of them now, but I want to make sure we're preserving some of that green space as well. I want to make sure that we keep that green space nice. I love the parks that we have here. I've been out shooting videos at different parks and talking about the parks and various ideas that I have, and I think it's important to keep that, so we keep that in a great place for all of us to enjoy.
Thank you. We will now move to audience questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond.
Did I get a closing?
We'll do closing statements at the end.
Okay.
Yes. So the first audience question, and we'll begin with Mr. Anderson. On September 5th, 2024, you all participated in a forum run by the League of Women Voters. How do you feel about spending the taxpayers' money to do this forum again, just because a few people in the city want to be able to edit the answers they don't like?
Well, edit the answer, I guess redo the forum. I guess I'm unaware of any issue that was presented. I don't edit it. I didn't take it. I just posted whatever they had, and you can go watch it. If somebody edited it, that's not up to me. I guess if somebody edits those types of things, they shouldn't be doing it on taxpayer dollars. Definitely not. If they want to do it from their personal perspective and do it, that's fine. But there's really no need to do that. Just run it as a normal so people can hear everybody's choices and vision for the things. So but doing it on taxpayer dollars, definitely not the right thing to do.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question for Ms. Busher. On September 5th, 2024, you all participated in a forum run by the League of Women Voters. How do you feel about spending the taxpayers' money to do this forum again just because a few people in the city want to be able to edit the answers they don't like?
So Garth and I have had the opportunity and the pleasure to do 2 of these with the League of Women Voters that have provided us this space for free, no cost to the citizens here, a neutral platform to share answers and responses based on questions provided to them from citizens. There was ample opportunity to submit questions as well as wonderful advertisement and immense precedence. It's something that all cities participate in for their local elections, and I'm honored to have had the opportunity to do that. Anytime I'm given the opportunity to speak to my constituency, I will take it, and I'll be happy about it. And so being here tonight, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here tonight to talk to you all. And I understand the question of the concern of this coming from taxpayer money, whereas the League of Women Voters ones didn't. And not entirely knowing where this came from in the budget, I can't speak to where it did, so I can't answer that, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the second audience question, and we'll begin with Ms. Busher. In financial terms only, please describe why you believe the tax levy or franchise fee is a better road funding source.
The franchise fee is something that came into play prior to me running. And it's not something that I can say would be better or worse at this point because we have now moved on to a place where we've gotten away from it. At the time, did it make sense? And was it trying to accomplish the same goal that the levy was doing? Yes. Do we need to make sure that we're looking at what's happening right now when we're making financial decisions? And did the people who are on council think that that was the best choice in that moment? Yes. Do people make mistakes? Are humans fallible? Yes. But I think it's something that we need to continue to look at and see if it needs to be changed. If it's working now and our roads are being fixed, I guess we call it a win, right? If that wasn't the case, then I'd say it was a failure. But I think that it's something that as a community, we continue to learn and grow from the decisions we make and how to make them better. And everyone needs to know that we're all coming from a place of good.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question. Mr. Anderson, in financial terms only, please describe why you believe the tax levy or franchise fee is a better road funding source.
I do not think it's a better road funding source. The franchise fee is a regressive tax. It'll put more burden on the taxpayers, and that is something they don't want. And so going out there with a levy, that puts it back to the voters where they can vote for whether they want that increase or not. But a franchise fee is just, they will slap that on there, and it's a regressive tax, and you'll probably end up paying a lot more than you would have otherwise. So I definitely don't think it's a better source for funding.
Thank you. Our third and final audience question is as follows, and we'll begin with Mr. Anderson. What are your thoughts on the following? The bigger the government, the smaller the individual.
I am under the firm belief that we need to have less government, smaller government, and let the people, this country was founded on the idea that it's a government for the people, by the people. It's people serving other people and listening to the needs of those people and following that. And government, especially at the federal level right now, has become a huge behemoth with a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucratic nonsense. And I think we just have to have less government. And at the city level, we can do that. We can just deal with what the city has to deal with and not have to get into a lot of bureaucracy. And that's where I stand on that.
Thank you. Ms. Busher, what are your thoughts on the following? The bigger the government, the smaller the individual.
As Garth was stating, I actually wrote this down as you asked me the question, but for the people, by the people. So we should be here in our seats making sure that the folks that are on the ground living life every single day are able to live their best life. It should be less punitive. We shouldn't be creating policies that are invasive to our citizens. And we should make sure that we're focusing on things that jurisdictionally matter. So at the local level, like I've hit on so many times, it's public safety, it's public works, it's infrastructure, it's our local businesses, and creating a sustainable economy for our citizens, and making sure that we're truly listening to them every single day, saying, what do you want, what do you need? And at the basis of everything, as long as we're caring for our community, we should be a sound government.
Thank you. We will now go to a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate, and we'll begin with Ms. Busher.
So kind of reiterating everything I talked about, I have a background, a legal background, so I know that when I'm coming to the table as a city council person, I'm going to be making decisions that make sense for us, not only fiscally, but also legally. I'm always available. I have provided my phone number, email address, and various methods of communication to folks as I've been out door knocking. And I want to be that same available person when I'm on council. And I've also mentioned that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. My priorities on my literature is public safety. Like I said, I have the MPPOA endorsement. I've communicated with our public safety. I have a legal background. I want to see rural sustainable growth communicated with our folks here at the city to make sure I'm seeing the directions that we're going to make that sustainable growth and keep our spaces. And I want you to know that you matter. You are the subject matter experts of your life. And I should be here to uplift and raise and support you and to advocate for you. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I enjoy doing these forums. It's a great opportunity for me to give my point of view on some ideas. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that I'm a fiscal conservative. I've actually been recommended by the Senate District 31 Republicans. Obviously it's a nonpartisan, but everybody leans one way or another. In this world and day and age, there's no moderates at all. You are either leaning left or you're leaning right, and you need to figure out which side you want to lean on. But I will listen to everybody. I am a fantastic listener, and I've always been a wonderful listener. I even, as outdoor knocking, somebody had an issue with their yard, and I took it to the city council, and they're already working with that citizen to try to resolve that issue that they've had. So even with me not even on the council yet, I've had an opportunity to work with citizens to try to resolve an issue.
Thank you. Thank you. This concludes our forum. I'd like to thank our candidates and CJ Luck, the equipment operator, for making tonight's event possible. Please remember to vote on or before Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you again. Thank you.